CBS The Bold and the Beautiful. A wedding drenched in blood. Carter had waited long enough. He had loved, lost, waited, and rebuilt his heart from the ruins more times than he cared to remember. But this time, it felt different. This time, it felt final. Hope had said yes. Not just to a dress fitting, not just to another dinner at Il Giardino, but to a lifeless life. He wasn't just proposing marriage. He was offering her freedom from the chaos, from the triangles, from the indecision that had chewed at her happiness for years. He believed she was finally done with Liam. He had to believe it. But Liam Spencer wasn't done. From the outside, Carter Walton had everything together. The charm, the career, the confidence. And now, the woman. Hope Logante, mother of Liam's daughter. The eternal seesaw of his affection was finally slipping out of Liam's orbit. And he couldn't take it. Liam told himself it was about Beth. He clung to that line with white-knuckled desperation. A child deserved both parents. A child needed a whole home. But beneath that righteous banner was the truth he refused to say out loud. He couldn't bear the idea of another man touching Hope, waking up beside her, seeing her smile with eyes that had once only looked at him. He had let her go too many times. He always thought she'd come back. She always had. Until now. The wedding was set to be elegant, intimate, tasteful. It wasn't a publicity stunt, just a promise sealed among close family and a few friends. But even before the ceremony began, tension crackled beneath every glance. Brooke couldn't quite meet Carter's eyes. Rich kept checking his phone, and Steffi, of all people, had pulled Liam aside that morning to ask, "Are you really going to let this happen?" Not as a taunt, as a challenge. Carter had tried to dismiss the warnings. He knew Liam would protest. He even suspected Liam might try to disrupt the ceremony somehow. He'd factored in an emotional scene. He had braced for the dramatic entrance, the speech about Beth, the classic "this isn't over" moment. But what Carter hadn't expected was that it would all unravel before the vows could even leave his lips. Hope had been quiet all morning. Beautiful, but distant. She kept staring at her reflection longer than necessary, her fingers trembling as she adjusted the lace sleeves on her gown. When Brooke tried to reassure her, she only nodded. She wasn't doubting Carter. At least, not in any way she could explain. But memory was a cruel tide, and today it surged higher than ever. She remembered Liam's hands on hers the day Beth was born. She remembered the look in his eyes when they first laid eyes on their daughter. She remembered the promises, the dreams, the version of him she once believed in. Carter offered stability, love without the mess, but love without fire? Could she live with that? The ceremony began. The music swelled. Carter's voice was strong, steady. Hope took his hands. She opened her mouth to speak her vows. And that's when Liam burst through the doors. Not alone. He had brought Beth, still in her little dress, hair hastily done, clutching a stuffed rabbit. The room gasped. Even Rich stood. "I'm sorry," Liam said, his voice shaking, "but I can't let this happen. Hope, please, don't do this. Not for me. Not for us. Do it for Beth." Hope froze. Her lips parted, but no words came. The tears welled instantly. Everyone held their breath. Beth ran toward her, arms open. Hope dropped the bouquet and crouched, hugging her tightly, her veil cascading over her daughter like a curtain. Carter didn't move. His jaw locked, but he said nothing. "Not yet." "I still love you," Liam said, stepping forward. "I always have. And I know I've screwed up more times than I can count, but we have something real. We made something real. A family. I can't stand here and watch you walk away from that. I won't." Hope looked from her daughter to Liam, then to Carter. Carter felt it in that moment. The shift, the flicker in her eyes, the internal war. He had seen it before in Quinn's face, on Zoe's, on Paris. Always the hesitation, always the indecision, always the pain. He had promised himself, never again. But Liam didn't stop. He moved toward Hope, hands reaching. Come with us. Come home. No, Carter's voice thundered through the room. Everyone turned. He reached into his jacket. At first, no one believed it. Was he pulling out a note? A letter? A ring? Then came the flash of black steel. No, Carter, Rich barked, lunging forward. But it was too late. One shot. Clean. Precise. Straight into Liam's chest. The sound of the gunshot silenced everything. The music, the crying, the whispers had all vanished into a vacuum of horror. Liam staggered, clutching his chest, the bloom of red soaking through his shirt. He dropped to the floor at Hope's feet. Beth screamed. Hope froze, paralyzed. The gun clattered to the floor. Chaos erupted. Screams, footsteps, someone calling 911, someone else shielding Beth's eyes. Hope knelt beside Liam, hands trembling, pressing uselessly against the wound. No, no, no. Please, don't go. Stay with me. Liam, stay with me. But Liam Spencer was already gone. Carter didn't run. He stood still, shaking, staring at what he had done. The man who'd haunted every relationship he'd ever tried to build was gone. Permanently. Brooke slapped him. Ridge shoved him to the ground. Steffi knelt beside her brother's body, too stunned to cry. The police arrived within minutes. As Carter was cuffed and led away, he locked eyes with Hope one last time. There was no forgiveness in her face. Only fear. Only grief. The headlines would explode across the country in hours. Wedding day murder, prominent forester arrested for killing rival in fit of jealous rage. But within the walls of that chapel, it wasn't about court cases or tabloid frenzy. It was about a little girl screaming for her father. It was about a woman kneeling in a blood-stained dress. It was about a man who had tried so hard to keep love in his hands that he destroyed it with his own. Hope Logan had stood on the edge of a new life. Now she stood in its wreckage. And nothing at time, not therapy, not even the famous Forrester money could put the pieces back together. Carter didn't resist. He couldn't. The moment the bullet left the barrel, the rage that had flared inside him evaporated. In its place was only silence. Cold. Paralyzing. Empty. The gun hit the floor with a metallic thud that seemed to echo louder than the shot itself. Liam lay motionless, eyes wide open, blood spilling fast beneath him. Hope collapsed beside the body, a sound escaping her throat that didn't even sound human. She wasn't crying. She was screaming raw, broken, ragged sobs that tore through the chapel like glass. L.A.M. No. L.A.M. she shouted, grabbing his shirt, shaking him, pleading like a child waking from a nightmare. Please stay with us. Liam, please, open your eyes. She pressed her hands against the wound, not caring that her wedding gown, once white and perfect, was now stained dark with blood. Her veil trailed behind her like a shroud. Beth cried from across the room, held tightly by Steffi, who shielded the child from the sight of her father's body. Ridge was already pinning Carter against the wall, blood roaring in his ears. You son of a bitch, Ridge growled, his voice shaking with fury. You killed him. Brooke stood frozen, one hand over her mouth, eyes locked on her daughter, sobbing in the middle of what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Security rushed in, but it was already too late for intervention. The damage was done. Carter didn't fight back. He didn't speak. He didn't even blink when Reed shoved him against the altar. He looked down at Liam, then at Hope. Her eyes met his, and he would never forget what he saw in them. Not anger. Not even hatred. Just devastation. Hope didn't say a word to him. She looked through him like he was already gone. The police stormed the chapel moments later. Guns drawn. Voices shouting commands. Rich stepped back, his hands up. Carter turned slowly, offering his wrists. I'm unarmed, he muttered, voice low and empty. The officer approached cautiously, cuffing him tightly. You're under arrest for the murder of Liam Spencer, the officer said sharply. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, but Carter wasn't listening. His eyes were still on Hope. He tried to speak. I didn't was going to take you. Shut up, Rich snapped. You've done enough. The crowd that had once been there for celebration now stood in stunned silence. Some whispered. Others wept. Hope still hadn't moved. Her hands were stained red. Her gown clung to her knees as she rocked back and forth beside Liam's body. I didn't know, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. I didn't know he could. I didn't know he would. Ambulances came, but there was no one to save. The coroner was called. The press was already swarming the front gates. They took Carter out the back in cuffs. Cameras still caught the shot. The once respected coup of Forrester Creations, a man known for honor and integrity, being shoved into the back of a squad car with blood on his hands and no defense to offer. Back inside the chapel, Brooke finally knelt beside Hope. Honey, she whispered, her voice shaking. We need to go. You can't stay here. Hope didn't respond. She stared at Liam's face, touched his cheek, and whispered one last time, I'm so sorry. I should have never let him go. The fallout was immediate. By morning, Carter Walton was the top headline on every media outlet in Los Angeles. Murder at the altar. Hope Logan's wedding ends in tragedy. Forrester, who arrested in shocking love triangle killing, Ridge issued a statement condemning the act. Eric was speechless. Steffi took Beth home and kept her away from all screens, hoping the little girl wouldn't fully understand what she'd witnessed. Hope was unreachable. She locked herself inside Brooke's house, refusing to speak to anyone. Her phone rang nonstop. Media, family, friends. She answered none of them. She replayed that moment over and over again. The vows she never got to say. The voice of Liam pleading. The look in Carter's eyes before he pulled the trigger. She wanted to scream. She wanted to destroy something, but she couldn't even move. The pain had frozen her. Days passed. Carter sat in a cold interrogation room, hands clasped in front of him. No lawyer could explain what he'd done. No jury would care about heartbreak or stolen love. He didn't even try to justify it anymore. I ruined everything, he muttered to Detective Sanchez. I just snapped, and now, the detective asked. You regret it? Carter looked up, tears welling. What does it matter? It didn't. Not anymore. He was charged with first-degree murder. No bail, no leniency. From rising star to condemned man in one shot. The Forrester family was left shattered. Hope wouldn't leave the house. Beth cried at night for her father. Steffi tried to hold everyone together, but even she was unraveling. And Liam Spencer, flawed and faltering, was now frozen in memory, gone forever. Hope eventually left the house to attend his funeral. She wore black. No makeup. No emotion. Just silence. When she stood by his grave, she said one sentence. You were the storm I couldn't stop loving. And then she walked away. The world kept turning, but nothing would ever be the same.